It's interesting, isn't it? We grow up believing that every time we have symptoms, every time we're sick, there's something, a problem that we need to solve. That's something bad that's been happening that needs to be solved. But then maybe we grow older, maybe we get chronic symptoms, mind-body symptoms that are not resolving with traditional treatment. And that's when we come across the idea that maybe symptoms are not really the problem. Maybe they're the cover-up, a cover-up for something else that's going on deep inside. This is what I want to explore in this video. So if you've been having chronic symptoms, whatever they are, if they haven't resolved, then hang on there for a bit. So when most of us embark on a mind-body journey, when we start to accept that maybe our symptoms, which have persisted or which have changed or developed or gotten worse, we have started to accept that these might have a mind-body element, that they might have a psychological root, that's when we are also accepting a change in perspective. The perspective that maybe our symptoms are not the problem in itself, they are just a reflection of a deeper problem going on inside of us. So, in a sense, they might be a cover-up for something else. This is what Dr. John Sarno discovered when he realized that repressed emotion, repressed rage and anger was one of the main root causes behind chronic symptoms, and that the symptoms themselves were being persistent, were being severe and loud because the person had been totally oblivious of these repressed emotions. Nowadays, we also know that besides the repressed rage and anger, there are different elements that can contribute to our symptoms, to our mind-body symptoms. Day-to-day pressures, the way that you are thinking about yourself and your life. Repressed emotions is still a big one. All of those emotions that you're not fully feeling, you're not fully acknowledging, all the things that you're denying. Essentially, whatever it may be, symptoms are still a cover-up for all of this internal distress. It's what I personally like to call internal distress. It's not stress as such, not the day-to-day stress that we are typically able to handle, not the day-to-day stress that we typically complain about, but a deeper internal distress that we're grappling with, something that is not quite completed, something that feels heavy deep inside of us. But before I go into this, I really want to specify what I mean by symptoms being a cover-up, because this will make a huge difference in actually whether you, the chronic pain sufferer, will recover or not. Because I see a lot of people who embark on the mind-body approach just because they want to obviously eliminate their symptoms. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody likes having symptoms. And I am the first person who, upon having a symptom, I'm like, oh, wait, this is unpleasant. I don't like it. I want to get rid of it. But the thing is, if symptoms are a cover-up, if, let's say, I wake up with, pain in my shoulder, and I, with my knowledge now of mind-body issues, I know that this means something. It doesn't mean that I've injured the shoulder. Then, of course, I have to be able to shift that perspective from wanting to treat the shoulder just on a physical level to actually exploring what's going on. What is the symptom trying to communicate to me? What does it represent? And so on and so forth. And now the main mistake that I see people make is that obviously they look at the symptom as their enemy, right? As something that they have to fix and eliminate. And the only reason some people look into a mind-body approach is because they actually just want to get rid of the symptom, but maybe they do not have the dedication and the patience to actually explore what it means. In the sense that if they had a choice between just eliminating the symptom or looking into what it means and eliminating it still, they would choose the first option. They would choose not to go into their deeper emotional state. And sometimes it can work. Sometimes when people realize that they're not injured or they get tested and the doctor reassures them that there's nothing wrong with their pain, sometimes the pain does go away. But typically what happens is if there is still underlying emotional distress, then another symptom might come up. Another symptom which is maybe louder, more painful, more uncomfortable. And this is why it's always the best option to really be honest with yourself when you're having a symptom. It doesn't mean that you can't take anything to relieve it, right? I don't know, like if you're having a chronic cough, it's fine. Maybe you can, drink some honey water, take some tablets to relieve the itchiness in your throat or whatever. That's fine. But you also have to be willing to be super, super honest with yourself about what could the symptom mean. Why did your body decide to come up with the symptom at this particular point in time? And if it tends to fluctuate, if it tends to get louder on some days, why does it get louder on those specific days? So this is actually a call to introspection. And this is what this video is about. It's actually a call for honesty, for you to really get super honest with yourself, especially about the things that you've been trying to ignore or avoid when it comes to your life. The problem is that when we tend to ignore or avoid problems, we then tend to come across several triggers that will remind us that we have this problem, and that will cause symptoms to come up or to intensify, because deep inside we know that there is this problem that we are not resolving, we're trying to resist or ignore or deny or suppress. But the unconscious cannot be fooled. It knows that the problem is there and it knows that you're ignoring it. So it tries to warn you about it through the symptoms it creates in your body, because symptoms can be uncomfortable and loud and it's very difficult to ignore them. The problem is then that because of the way we're programmed to see the body as likely to get sick and to see that sickness as a problem that needs to be fixed, ideally externally through someone else. Because of that, we misinterpret this message that our deeper self is trying to send us through the symptoms. We totally miss out on that message, and instead we see the symptom as a problem. And even when we've heard about mind-body work, we might still get lost asking different questions about the symptom itself, getting too much into the specificity of the symptom, looking for other people who have our same symptom, asking whether other people have managed to resolve exactly this symptom, when this really doesn't matter, because everyone's expression of emotional distress through symptoms is different. Just like everyone's facial expressions are different, everyone's eyes are different, in a way, so are the symptoms. It is sometimes very difficult to find people who have symptoms that manifest in exactly the same way as yours. And by getting preoccupied with this, we are again losing sight of the truth. We are not asking ourselves to be honest. We're not saying like, okay, we have the symptom, and let's see what it could mean for me, what's going on, what's really going on. And I know some people ask this question and they don't get answers right away, which is totally fine. Sometimes you don't even need to speak out the answers. Sometimes you just need to feel them. So sometimes what you need to do is just stop resisting the symptoms. And I have other videos about this concept of resistance, which is so important. But in order to really listen to the symptoms, we have to release this resistance, this urge to fix them, and just stay with them. So even if you don't know exactly what they mean on an emotional level, it's fine. You can actually feel them and be with them on a somatic level and really listen to what you need right now. Because, for example, let's say if you have fatigue, clearly what the body is communicating to you is that you need to stop. Maybe you need some kind of break. You really need to tend to yourself. So even though you might not know why the fatigue came up in the first place, the best thing and the most important thing that you can do is to listen to it now, is to maybe kind of stay with the fatigue, and instead of trying to resist it or fix it or get over it, you actually listen to that call for peace, for introspection, whatever it is. And it's when we get into the state of non-resistance that we might then be able to hear these messages that the body is sending us much more clearly than before. We get clarity when we stop trying to problem solve, right? When we stop trying to frantically fix something. So it might happen for you that you're just taking a really slow walk in the woods, and that's when you're gonna get the realization that, oh, hey, you know, that thing is really deeply affecting me. That needs to change. Or, oh, what my friend said the other day, that felt really disempowering the way I looked at it. Something needs to change. I need to trust myself more. I need to whatever. So it's really interesting how the truth, these realizations, the honest truth, can come out when we decide to stop fighting the symptoms and be with them. Because, as I said in the very beginning of this video, the symptoms are always a cover-up for something else, for something deeper. And this is the way that we need to see them. As Dr. Sarno says in his book, in his famous best-selling books on mind-body issues, he says, think psychological about your symptoms. What it means is that don't see the symptoms as the problem, but think about their psychological meaning, their deeper meaning, because this is what's going to get you closer to the truth. But in our frantic search for a quick solution, for a quick fix, we miss out on this often. We don't want to do this work. So maybe now that it's summer in Europe, in America, I find summer to be a great time to actually take a step back. And if you have any symptoms, new ones or persisting symptoms, to just always ask yourself, what can this mean? How can I take these symptoms as an opportunity to actually improve myself and my life? Only a couple of weeks ago, I myself was down with the flu, and I know the flu is a real thing and there's a real virus behind it and so on and so forth. And I was really annoyed that I caught it, really annoyed that I caught it at the beginning of summer when I just wanted to go to the beach and so on and so forth. But when I took a step back and accepted that I had caught the flu, I also knew deep down why my body had weakened to the extent of being vulnerable to that virus. I could see the exact situations which led to internal distress within me that led to making me more prone to getting this flu. Because of that, then I could take some empowering decisions. I could decide to do things differently next time. And because of that, I ended up not just recovering from the flu, but also having a better sense of direction, a better sense of knowing of how it's best to treat myself and to go forward. So that's just a little personal example there, but I hope you get the gist of it. And I know how tiring and disappointing it could be to get symptoms repeatedly over and over. The last thing you want to do is to see these symptoms as your friend. But trust me on this one, just take a step back, stay with these symptoms, ask them, ask yourself, what could it mean on a deeper level, and see what comes up in the next weeks. And if you need further help with this process, guys, I have an in-depth online program called Pain-Free Breakthrough, where I guide you towards exploring different aspects of your life, different factors that might be contributing to your symptoms, so that you can finally resolve and overcome these symptoms through personal growth, personal reflection, through a mindset shift from fear to empowerment, because that's really what you're looking for. A shift from lower level emotions to higher level emotions like confidence and knowing and empowerment. So check that out if you're feeling called to. And with that said, I'll leave you to enjoy or make the best of the rest of your summer, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.